Hello everyone, it's Olivia here, and I'm so glad you're joining me today. I'm still buzzing from something that happened earlier, and I just had to share it with you all. You know those days when everything feels ordinary, just ticking along? Well, today started exactly like that. I was at my desk, sipping my tea, lost in a mountain of emails, when suddenly my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize, and honestly, I almost didn't answer. But something told me to pick up, and you will not believe what happened next. It was the news I had been waiting for months. News so good, so unexpected, it washed over me like a wave of warm sunshine. It felt like the world just paused for a moment, and all the little stresses of the day simply melted away. This call, this moment, brought such a soothing calm, a sense of peace I haven't felt in ages. It's a story I can't wait to tell, and it's one I think you might enjoy hearing too. So, let's begin our exciting journey of English improvement together. And remember, there are new videos released daily focusing on English speaking and listening skills to help you improve and enjoy your learning journey. Okay, so, picture this. It's a Saturday, right? A perfectly good Saturday. Sun's sort of peeking through the clouds, birds are chirping, you know, the whole idyllic scene. I'm thinking, perfect day for a cup of tea and a good book. But, oh no, fate, as it often does, had other plans. My mom, bless her heart, decided that this Saturday, this beautiful, promising Saturday, was the perfect day to tackle the dreaded storeroom. The storeroom. Even the word sounds ominous, doesn't it? It's this small, windowless room off the kitchen, stuffed to the gills with, well, everything. Forgotten holiday decorations, boxes overflowing with who knows what, ancient sports equipment, you name it. It's the Bermuda Triangle of household items. Things go in, and they never come out. So, Mom's standing there, looking all determined, holding a dustpan and brush. Like it's Excalibur. Honey, she says, all bright and cheerful, a little too cheerful, if you ask me. Fancy helping me clean the storeroom? Now, I love my mom. I do. But the storeroom? It's not exactly my idea of a fun Saturday activity. But could I say no? Of course not. So, there I was, armed with a pair of rubber gloves and a grimace, ready to face the unknown. The moment I opened the door, I was hit with this wall of stuff. I mean, seriously. It was like an archaeological dig in there. Layers upon layers of forgotten memories, coated in a thick layer of dust. The air was thick with the smell of mothballs and something vaguely musty. Like old books and forgotten dreams. You know what I mean? We started slowly, cautiously, like we were exploring a hidden tomb. Every box was a potential surprise, a Pandora's box of forgotten treasures and, let's be honest, probably a few spiders. The first box we opened contained Christmas decorations, tangled strings of lights, a slightly deflated Santa, and a ceramic reindeer missing an antler. It was like unearthing ancient artifacts. We spent a good 10 minutes just untangling the lights, reminiscing about Christmases past. Then came the sports equipment. My dad's old tennis racket, a deflated basketball, a pair of roller skates I haven't seen since I was 10. Holding those skates, I could almost feel the wind in my hair, the wobbly excitement of learning to roll. It's funny how objects can hold so many memories, isn't it? We found old photo albums, filled with faded pictures of family vacations, birthday parties, and awkward school photos. We spent ages poring over them, laughing at our younger selves, remembering forgotten moments. My mom pointed out a picture of me, maybe 5 years old, wearing a princess costume and a ridiculously oversized tiara, looking utterly determined. You always were a little dramatic, she said, chuckling. I had to laugh. Some things never change, right? As we dug deeper, the discoveries became more interesting. We found my old diary, filled with angsty teenage poetry and passionate declarations of love for various pop stars. Oh, the cringe. I quickly snatched it and hid it under a pile of blankets. Some things are best left buried in the past. We found a box of my dad's old tools, screwdrivers, hammers, wrenches. I remember him spending hours in the garage, tinkering with things. He could fix anything. Holding those tools, I felt a pang of something. Nostalgia, maybe? Sadness? It's hard to explain. Then, guess what happened? Behind a stack of old blankets, we found a small, wooden box. It was beautifully carved, with intricate designs. We looked at each other, eyes wide with curiosity. What could it be? Treasure? Secret? Documents? Alien artifacts? Okay, maybe not aliens. But still, we carefully opened the box, and inside was a collection of seashells. Just seashells. Ordinary, everyday seashells. We burst out laughing. All that build-up, and it was just seashells. But you know what? It was perfect. A little reminder of family vacations by the sea, of collecting shells on the beach with my brother, of the simple joys of childhood. The cleaning process wasn't all smooth sailing, mind you. There were a few mishaps. Like the time I accidentally knocked over a stack of old newspapers, sending a cloud of dust billowing into the air. Or the time I tripped over a stray roller skate and nearly took down a shelf full of porcelain dolls. Those dolls were creepy, let me tell you. But despite the dust, the spiders, yes, there were spiders, and the occasional near disaster, it was fun. It was like taking a trip down memory lane, rediscovering forgotten parts of ourselves and our family history. We talked, we laughed, we shared stories. It wasn't just about cleaning a room, it was about connecting, about remembering. By the time we were finished, the storeroom was transformed. Organized, clean, almost sparkling. It was no longer a dark, dusty repository of forgotten things, but a bright, airy space filled with memories. We even found some old board games we'd completely forgotten about. We spent the rest of the afternoon playing Monopoly, arguing good-naturedly over properties and fake money. It felt good. You know, I went into that storeroom dreading it, seeing it as a chore, an obligation. But I came out with something much more valuable. A renewed appreciation for my family, for our history, for the little moments that make up a life. And a newfound respect for the power of a good clean-out. Who knew cleaning a storeroom could be so rewarding? It wasn't just about getting rid of clutter, it was about making space for new memories, while cherishing the old ones. And honestly, that's not a bad way to spend a Saturday. Not bad at all. Okay, so, you will not believe what happened to me last week. I decided, in all my infinite wisdom, that I was going to make sushi. Sushi. I love sushi. It's like edible art, right? So delicate, so sophisticated. But making it? That's a whole other level. I usually just admire it from afar, you know, in the dimly lit sanctity of my favorite sushi restaurant. But there I was, last Tuesday, scrolling through Instagram, bombarded by these mesmerizing videos of perfectly formed sushi rolls. The knife slicing through the fish with that satisfying shink, the rice glistening like tiny pearls. It was hypnotic. And suddenly, I had this epiphany. I can do that, I thought. Famous last words, right? So, off I went, armed with a grocery list longer than my arm and a heart full of misguided confidence. The Asian grocery store was an adventure in itself, I tell you. So many unfamiliar ingredients, the air thick with the scent of, well, I'm not entirely sure what. Something earthy and a bit fishy, but not in a bad way. More like the promise of something delicious. I grabbed nori sheets, short grain rice, the crucial ingredient, I'd read, rice vinegar, wasabi paste, in a tube, because I wasn't that brave, soy sauce, ginger, and then I saw it. A beautiful, shimmering fillet of salmon. It practically called my name. Into the basket it went. Back home, the real fun began. The rice. Oh, the rice. You wouldn't think cooking rice could be so complicated, would you? But apparently, sushi rice is a diva. It needs to be rinsed, like, a million times until the water runs clear. My kitchen sink looked like a miniature rice paddy. Then the cooking. Not too much water, not too little. The perfect temperature. And the steaming. It was a whole process. I felt like I was performing some ancient ritual. While the rice cooled, because, of course, it couldn't be hot for rolling, could it? I moved on to prepping the other ingredients. I thinly sliced the cucumber and avocado, trying my best to mimic those elegant knife skills I'd seen in the videos. My slices were less than perfect, let's just say. More rustic, more abstract. But hey, it's the taste that counts, right? Right? Then came the moment of truth, the rolling. I laid out my bamboo rolling mat, carefully placed a nori sheet on top, and spread a thin layer of rice, trying desperately not to make a sticky mess. It wasn't pretty. The rice stuck to my fingers, the nori wrinkled like an old map, and my anxiety levels were skyrocketing. I added a line of salmon, cucumber, and avocado, took a deep breath, and started to roll. Disaster. Pure, unadulterated disaster. The rice fell out one end, the nori tore, and the whole thing looked like, well, it looked like a food-related crime scene. I stared at my mangled creation, feeling a mixture of frustration and amusement bubbling up inside me. You know that feeling when you're trying so hard to be graceful and elegant, but you end up looking like a baby giraffe learning to walk? Yeah, that was me. But I'm stubborn. I'm not one to give up easily. So, I tried again. And again. And again. Each attempt was marginally better than the last, but still, not exactly Instagram-worthy. My kitchen counter was covered in stray grains of rice, rogue pieces of cucumber, and little blobs of wasabi that had escaped their tube prison. It looked like a tiny, delicious explosion had taken place. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I managed to produce something resembling a sushi roll. It was lopsided, a little too fat in the middle, and frankly, quite messy. But it held together. A small victory, but a victory nonetheless. I sliced it up, nervously dipping a piece in soy sauce and popping it in my mouth. And you know what? It wasn't half bad. Actually, it was pretty good. Not restaurant quality, mind you, but definitely edible. And the sense of accomplishment? Oh, that was delicious. I had faced the sushi, and I hadn't exactly conquered it, but I'd definitely held my own. I spent the rest of the evening happily munching on my slightly wonky sushi rolls, feeling a strange sense of pride mixed with utter exhaustion. My kitchen looked like a tornado had hit it, but it was a happy kind of mess. The kind of mess that comes from trying something new, from pushing yourself outside your comfort zone, and from not being afraid to make a fool of yourself. So, would I attempt sushi making again? Honestly, maybe. But next time, I might just order takeout. Or maybe I'll invite you over, and we can make a mess of it together. What do you say? It'll be an adventure, I promise. And hey, even if our sushi looks like something the cat coughed up, we'll have a good laugh, right? Because sometimes, the best experiences are the ones where you embrace the chaos, the stickiness, and the sheer, unadulterated joy of trying something new. Even if it involves a million grains of rice and a bamboo mat that's probably seen better days. You know what I mean? Hey everyone. Learning a new language can feel like climbing a mountain, but remember, every step counts. Say it wrong today, say it right tomorrow. This little mantra has been so helpful for me. It reminds me that progress isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. Every mistake is a stepping stone towards fluency, so embrace those little stumbles. You're doing amazing. You know what? I recently discovered a fun and easy way to sneak in some speaking practice. It's narrating your grocery list. While I'm walking through the store, I'll say things like, okay, I need apples because I'm making a pie tomorrow, and carrots for a healthy snack. It might sound silly, but honestly, it's a great way to practice vocabulary and sentence structure without even realizing you're doing it. Try it while you're cooking or on a walk. It makes everyday tasks a little more interesting. Trying to keep calm when you make mistakes? Oh, I totally get it. That feeling of your mind going blank or stumbling over a word, it's so relatable. But remember, everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers. It's just part of the process. Be kind to yourself and keep practicing. You're braver than you think. And you know what? I've been exploring different ways to immerse myself in English. The other day I stumbled upon this amazing podcast that totally captivated me. It got me thinking, have you found any good English podcasts or YouTube channels? I'd love to hear your recommendations and discover some new resources together. So, you want to hear a story about making jeera rice? Sounds simple, right? Just some rice, some cumin seeds. How hard could it be? Well, let me tell you, this particular jeera rice saga is one for the ages. Grab a cuppa, get comfy, because this is a long one. You see, it was a Sunday. One of those Sundays where sunlight streams through the window just so, dusting everything with this golden glow. I was feeling ambitious. Not, clean the whole house, ambitious, more like, try something a little fancy for lunch, ambitious. And jeera rice, fragrant, fluffy, perfectly jeweled with those tiny brown seeds, it called to me. Now, I grew up watching my grandmother make jeera rice. It seemed like magic. She'd just know when the rice was done, when the spices were perfectly toasted. No measuring cups, no timers, just pure intuition. Me? Not so much. My kitchen adventures usually involved slightly burnt toast and an over-reliance on takeout menus. But this Sunday was different. I was determined to channel my inner kitchen goddess. I pulled out my grandmother's old, battered recipe book, its pages stained with turmeric and thyme. The jeera rice recipe was scrawled in her elegant handwriting, a mix of Hindi and English, little notes jotted in the margins like secret whispers. A pinch of love, one note said. I smiled. That was my grandmother, all right. So, first, the rice. Basmati, of course. Long, slender grains, almost translucent. I poured them into a bowl and started rinsing. The water ran cloudy at first, then clear as crystal. You know that feeling, right? Like you're washing away all the impurities, preparing for something pure and delicious. Next, the cumin seeds. Jeera, the heart and soul of this dish. I poured a small handful into my palm, those tiny brown crescents, rough against my skin. I brought them to my nose, inhaled deeply. That earthy, warm, slightly bitter aroma, it's just intoxicating. It transported me back to my grandmother's kitchen, the comforting clatter of pots and pans, the warmth of the stove, her gentle humming. Okay, so now the spices. The recipe called for a few green chilies, slit lengthwise. I carefully sliced them, the sharp, pungent smell making my eyes water. A small knob of ginger, peeled and finely chopped. And then, the onions. Now, I'm not usually an onion chopping crier, but this day, this day. Maybe it was the sunlight, maybe it was the nostalgia, but the tears just started flowing. I was chopping away, sniffling, feeling utterly ridiculous, but also strangely cleansed. Like the onions were drawing out all the hidden emotions, leaving me feeling lighter, somehow. Finally, the cooking. I heated some ghee in a heavy-bottomed pot. The ghee melted, shimmering like liquid gold. I added the cumin seeds. They sizzled and popped, releasing their fragrant magic into the air. Then the chilies and ginger, their sharp aromas mingling with the warm, nutty cumin. And finally, the onions. They softened, turned translucent, then golden brown, the edges crisping slightly. Now, the rice. I carefully added the rinsed basmati to the pot, stirring gently, coating each grain with the spiced ghee. The scent that rose up, it was heavenly. It was my grandmother's kitchen, it was Sunday lunches, it was love, all captured in a single aroma. Next, water. Twice the amount of rice, the recipe said. But then, I hesitated. My grandmother never measured. She just knew. So, I took a deep breath, channeled my inner grandma, and poured in what I thought was the right amount. A little more than twice, maybe? A gamble, I know. I brought the water to a boil, then lowered the heat, covered the pot, and waited. And that's where the real drama began. See, I'm an impatient cook. I kept peeking, lifting the lid just a tiny bit, wanting to see the magic happening. But every time I peeked, I felt like I was interrupting some sacred process, disturbing the delicate balance of heat and steam. After what felt like an eternity, I decided to check. I carefully lifted the lid, a plume of fragrant steam escaping. The rice, it looked almost done. But not quite. A few grains were still a little too firm. So, I covered the pot again, waited a few more minutes, my heart pounding with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. Finally, I checked again. The rice was perfect. Fluffy, separate grains, each one coated with the golden ghee and the fragrant spices. I turned off the heat, let the rice sit, covered, for a few more minutes, just to absorb all the flavors. And then, the moment of truth. I fluffed the rice with a fork, the steam rising, carrying with it that intoxicating aroma. I took a spoonful, closed my eyes, and savored the moment. It was perfect. Just like my grandmother's. The rice was fluffy, the cumin seeds toasty and fragrant, the chilies adding a gentle warmth, the ginger a subtle zing. It wasn't just jeera rice, it was a memory, a feeling, a connection to my past. And you know what? It was even better than takeout. So, yeah, making jeera rice. It might seem simple, but sometimes, the simplest things are the most profound. It's not just about the ingredients, it's about the process, the memories, the love you pour into it. It's about taking something ordinary and turning it into something extraordinary. And that, my friend, is the magic of cooking. Now, who wants seconds? Okay, so, you know how sometimes you just avoid doing something for so long that it becomes this monumental task? Like climbing Mount Everest but with more stale sandwiches and significantly less fresh air? Well, that was me and my school bag. It wasn't just any school bag, mind you. It was this massive, cavernous thing. I swear, Mary Poppins could have pulled a lampstand out of it. I'd had it since the start of high school, a vibrant, optimistic blue that had faded to a sort of melancholy grayish blue, like a forgotten summer sky. And it was ripe. Let's just say it hadn't seen the inside of a washing machine, or even a fleeting wipe with a damp cloth, for, well, let's just say a while. For months, maybe even a year, don't judge me, I'd been meaning to clean it. Every time I opened it, I'd get this little whiff of something. A complex aroma with notes of old banana peels, dried up highlighters, and the faint, lingering ghost of that time I spilled orange juice all over my history notes. I'd wrinkle my nose, slam it shut, and think, tomorrow. Definitely tomorrow. But tomorrow never came. The bag just sat there, slumped in the corner of my room like a weary, forgotten traveler, silently judging me. It became this symbol of my procrastination, a physical manifestation of my chaotic life. Then came the day. It was a Saturday, rainy and gray, the kind of day that makes you want to curl up under a blanket with a good book and completely ignore all responsibilities. But something, maybe the sheer weight of the guilt, maybe the fact that the smell was starting to permeate my entire room, finally pushed me over the edge. I stood there, staring at the bag. Taking a deep breath, I braced myself, as if preparing to defuse a bomb, and unzipped it. The noise the zipper made was unsettling. A slow, groaning, protesting sound, like a rusty gate creaking open after years of neglect. And the smell, oh, the smell. It hit me like a wall, a wave of stale air washing over me. I staggered back, momentarily blinded by the sheer force of it. Peering inside, I saw a microcosm of my academic year. Crumbled worksheets, half-eaten granola bars, I shudder to think how old they were, pens that had exploded and leaked ink across everything, a rogue apple core that had achieved a sort of fossilized state. There were textbooks I'd sworn I'd lost months ago, buried beneath a landslide of loose papers and forgotten assignments. It was like an archaeological dig, each layer revealing a different stage of my descent into academic chaos. Where do you even begin with something like this? I mean, seriously. It felt like an insurmountable task, like trying to empty the ocean with a teaspoon. I almost zipped it back up and pretended it never happened. Almost. But then, a strange thing happened. I started laughing. I mean, really laughing. The whole situation was just so absurd, so ridiculously me, that I couldn't help it. It was a laughter born of despair, yes, but also a kind of liberating acceptance. This was my mess, and I was going to deal with it. So, armed with a trash bag, a bottle of disinfectant wipes, and a grim determination, I began the excavation. I pulled out handfuls of crumpled paper, sorting through them with a mixture of amusement and horror. Oh, look, my essay on Shakespeare. I completely forgot about that. Or, what in the world is this doing in here? A half-eaten bag of, what even is that? Every item held a memory, a little snapshot of my life. A ticket stub from a school trip, a faded photograph of my friends, a handwritten note from someone. I'd almost forgotten. It was like flipping through the pages of a very messy, very smelly scrapbook. There were surprises, too. Like the time I found a $20 bill tucked into the pocket of a forgotten jacket. Score. Or the moment I unearthed a perfectly preserved chocolate bar, miraculously uneaten, from the depths of the bag. Small victories in the face of overwhelming chaos. You take what you can get, you know? And then there were the less pleasant discoveries. Like the aforementioned fossilized apple core, which, upon closer inspection, appeared to have sprouted a tiny, fuzzy ecosystem of its own. Or the pen that had exploded not with ink, but with some sort of viscous, unidentified goo. I won't go into details, but let's just say it involved a lot of scrubbing and a few muttered curses. The cleaning process itself was, well, it was an experience. My room became a disaster zone, papers strewn everywhere, as I sorted through the contents of the bag. My dog, bless her heart, kept trying to help by stealing crumpled up worksheets and running around the house with them. It was chaos. Beautiful, chaotic chaos. But slowly, painstakingly, the bag began to empty. And as it did, I felt a strange sense of lightness. Like I was shedding not just old papers and half-eaten snacks, but also the weight of procrastination and guilt that had been clinging to me for so long. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the bag was empty. Just a vast, echoing emptiness. It was almost sad, in a way. Like saying goodbye to an old friend, even a smelly, neglected one. I took the bag outside, gave it a good scrub with soapy water, and hung it up to dry in the weak sunlight. It looked different, cleaner, brighter, almost hopeful. The melancholy grayish blue seemed to have regained a hint of its original vibrancy. In me, I felt cleansed, renewed, ready to face the new school year, or at least, ready to face the next pile of papers and half-eaten snacks with a slightly less overwhelming sense of dread. It was more than just cleaning a bag, you see. It was about confronting the chaos, both literally and metaphorically. It was about letting go of the past, embracing the present, and maybe, just maybe, being a little more organized in the future. Though, let's be honest, that's probably a long shot. But hey, a girl can dream, right? So, yeah, that was the day I cleaned my school bag. A small victory, maybe, but a victory nonetheless. And who knows, maybe next time it won't take me a whole year to do it again. Maybe. Don't hold your breath, though. Hey everyone. Learning a new language can feel like climbing a mountain, but remember this. Your journey is unique, embrace it. There's no right or wrong pace, no single perfect method. What matters is your dedication and the joy you find in discovering a new way to communicate with the world. Own your progress, celebrate the small wins, and watch how your confidence blossoms. You know what can be a really fun way to practice speaking? Acting like a detective explaining a case. Imagine you're making breakfast and you notice the milk carton is empty. Now, channel your inner Sherlock and explain the case of the missing milk out loud. Who could have finished it? What clues are there? It might sound silly, but it gets you thinking and speaking spontaneously, and you can do it anywhere, anytime. Feeling motivated after a successful conversation? I totally get it. That surge of confidence, the feeling that you can actually connect with people in another language, it's honestly magical. Remember that feeling, hold on to it. It's proof of how far you've come and the amazing things you can achieve. Those moments are what make all the effort worthwhile. And you know what? I was just thinking about this the other day while chatting with a friend learning Spanish, and it made me curious. What motivates you the most to keep learning English? Is it the desire to travel, connect with new people, or maybe explore different cultures? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. Okay, so, you know how sometimes you just get this itch? This urge to do something completely different? That's exactly where I was last spring. Stuck in a rut, routine dull as dishwater, and I just knew I needed a shake-up. I was scrolling through community center activities, you know, the usual yoga, pottery, birdwatching, when I saw it. Fencing. I mean, really? Me? I'm about as coordinated as a newborn giraffe. The extent of my swordsmanship was pretending to be a pirate with a wrapping paper tube as a kid. But something about the word, the image of those elegant, masked figures, it sparked something. It felt adventurous. So, against all logic, I signed up. The first class, oh boy, the first class. I walked into the gym, the air thick with the smell of, well, sweat, mostly. And the sound? A constant clink, clang, scrape of metal on metal. Slightly intimidating. Everyone else seemed to know what they were doing, already decked out in the gear, the white jackets, the masks, the weapons. I felt like I'd stumbled onto the set of a historical drama. I was wearing, like, old sweatpants and a t-shirt. Talk about feeling out of place. The instructor, this tall, wiry guy named Jean-Pierre, yes, really, greeted me with a surprisingly warm smile. He had this thick French accent that made even the simplest instructions sound incredibly dramatic. He handed me a foil, which, let me tell you, is surprisingly light. I imagined it would be heavy, like a pirate's cutlass. But no, it was almost delicate. He showed me the grip, how to hold it, the basic stance. My legs immediately felt like jelly. You know that feeling when you try to stand perfectly still and suddenly every muscle starts trembling? Yeah, that. We started with footwork. Advance, retreat, lunge. Simple enough in theory, right? Wrong. My feet kept getting tangled. I tripped over my own toes. I felt like a marionette with its strings all knotted up. Jean-Pierre, bless his heart, was incredibly patient. He'd gently correct my posture, readjust my grip, and say things like, "Imagine you are a dancer, not a lumberjack, mademoiselle." I think I blushed about 50 shades of red that first day. Then came the actual fencing. We practiced simple parries and ripostes, just tapping foils together. Even that was harder than it looked. My timing was off, my movements clumsy. I kept getting hit. A lot. There was this one guy, this ridiculously athletic teenager, who seemed to move at lightning speed. Every time we faced off, he'd score a point before I even knew what was happening. It was humbling, to say the least. But you know what? Despite the awkwardness, the clumsiness, the constant feeling of being completely out of my depth, I actually enjoyed it. There was something exhilarating about the clash of blades, the quick thinking, the strategic dance of attack and defense. It was like learning a new language, a physical language of movement and precision. The weeks that followed were a blur of sweat, blisters, and a whole lot of frustration. I slowly started to grasp the basics, to understand the logic behind the movements. I learned the different types of attacks, the straight thrust, the disengage, the flick of the wrist that could catch your opponent off guard. I even managed to score a few points against that lightning-fast teenager. Okay, maybe just one or two. But still, a victory. There were so many small moments of realization, those little aha moments when a technique finally clicked. Like the time I finally figured out how to parry a specific attack that had been plaguing me for weeks. I literally jumped up and down with excitement. Jean-Pierre gave me a knowing smile, a small nod of approval that felt like winning an Olympic medal. And the camaraderie. The people in the class were amazing. A mix of ages, backgrounds, and experience levels, all united by this shared love of, well, stabbing each other with blunt metal objects. We'd laugh at each other's mistakes, celebrate each other's successes, and offer encouragement when things got tough. We'd go for drinks after class, discussing strategy and technique, and, okay, sometimes just gossiping. It felt like a tribe, a weird little fencing family. Of course, there were still moments of epic fail. Like the time my mask fell off mid-bout, leaving me completely exposed and momentarily blinded. Or the time I tripped over my own feet, again, and landed flat on my face. Let's just say I became quite familiar with the taste of gym floor. But the more I practiced, the more confident I became. The awkward movements started to feel more natural, the clumsy footwork more fluid. I even developed my own little style, a slightly unorthodox approach that sometimes, just sometimes, actually worked. I wasn't going to be competing in the Olympics anytime soon, but I was holding my own. And that felt powerful. One day, Jean-Pierre pulled me aside after class. "You have improved greatly, mademoiselle," he said, his French accent even thicker than usual. "You have the heart of a fencer." My heart swelled. It wasn't just about the physical skills, he explained. It was about the mental game, the strategy, the discipline. And those were things I was starting to understand. That's when I realized why I'd been drawn to fencing in the first place. It wasn't just the adventure, the novelty of trying something new. It was the challenge of pushing myself beyond my comfort zone, of learning something completely foreign, of discovering a strength I never knew I possessed. It was about finding a part of myself that had been dormant, waiting to be awakened by the clash of steel. So, there I was, a few months later, standing in my full fencing gear, mask on, foil in hand, ready for my first competition. Nerves buzzing like electricity, heart pounding in my chest. I was terrified, but I was also excited. I knew I wasn't going to win. I was probably going to get completely trounced. But that didn't matter. I was there. I was doing it. And that, in itself, was a victory. And you know what? I didn't completely embarrass myself. I even won a couple of bouts. It was a small, local competition, but still. It felt amazing. And after the last bout, as I was packing up my gear, Jean-Pierre walked over, a twinkle in his eye. "See," he said, with a sly smile. "The heart of a fencer." And you know what? For the first time, I actually believed him. So, what's the moral of the story? I don't know, maybe it's that sometimes the most unexpected things can bring the most unexpected joy. Maybe it's that it's never too late to try something new, to step outside your comfort zone and discover a hidden talent, or passion, or even just a new way to make yourself laugh. Or maybe it's just that fencing is really, really fun. You should try it. Sometime. Just watch out for the gym floor. Trust me on that one. Okay, so, you know how everyone's always talking about meditation? Like, it's the magic cure for everything from stress to stubbed toes? Well, I used to roll my eyes so hard I thought they'd get stuck. Meditation? Me? Sitting still? Please. My brain's like a squirrel on 6 espressos. But then, life happened. You know, the usual, work deadlines piling up like dirty laundry, family drama unfolding like a soap opera, and my inner monologue sounding like a broken record stuck on, "I'm not good enough." I was a walking, talking ball of anxiety, flavored with a hint of existential dread. So, I caved. I downloaded a meditation app. It had a little cartoon meditating guru with a perpetually serene smile. Even his cartoon eyebrows were relaxed. I mean, how could I compete with that level of chill? My first attempt? Let's just say it was memorable. I found a quiet corner in my apartment, sat cross-legged on a cushion, which, by the way, was way less comfortable than it looks in the yoga magazines, closed my eyes, and chaos. First, my legs started to cramp. Like a proper, eye-watering cramp. I tried to subtly shift my position without opening my eyes, which only made it worse. Then, my nose started to itch. It was one of those deep, internal itches you can't possibly reach. Torture. Pure torture. And then, the thoughts. Oh, the thoughts. They weren't even profound, philosophical thoughts. They were more like, did I remember to pay the electricity bill? Followed by, I wonder if they have my favorite ice cream at the grocery store, and then, for some reason, what's the capital of Uzbekistan? My brain was a free-for-all. The app instructed me to focus on my breath. Inhale peace, exhale stress, the soothing voice purred. I inhaled all right, inhaled a lungful of dust bunnies that had apparently been hiding under my bed. My exhale, on the other hand, sounded suspiciously like a frustrated sigh. 5 minutes felt like 5 hours. When the gentle chime finally signaled the end of my session, I felt anything but relaxed. I was twitchy, irritated, and convinced that meditation was some kind of elaborate hoax. But I'm stubborn, you see. I decided to give it another shot. And another. And another. Each attempt was a comedy of errors. One time, my cat decided my meditating lap was the perfect spot for a nap. Another time, the smoke alarm went off because I burned toast. Multitasking is not my forte, apparently. Slowly, though, something started to shift. The gaps between the frantic thoughts became a little wider. The itch in my nose became less insistent. The cramps, well, they still happened, but I got better at subtly adjusting my position. One morning, I was meditating, actually meditating, not just sitting there wrestling with my inner demons, when I heard a bird singing outside my window. It was a simple, clear melody. And for the first time, I actually listened. Really listened. Not just hearing the sound, but appreciating the beauty of it. It was a tiny moment, but it felt like a revelation. Then, guess what happened? My brain immediately started analyzing the moment. Wow, I thought, I'm actually experiencing mindfulness. I'm present. Wait, am I doing this right? Is this what enlightenment feels like? Should I be feeling something more profound? The cartoon guru in my app probably wouldn't have approved of my internal commentary, but you know what? I didn't care. It was progress. I was talking to myself less, listening more. I was starting to understand what all the fuss was about. Over time, meditation became less of a chore and more of a refuge. It wasn't about silencing my thoughts completely, that, I realized, was an impossible task. It was about learning to observe them, to acknowledge them without judgment, and to let them go. It was about finding a little pocket of stillness in the chaos of my day. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not some kind of Zen master. My brain still resembles a squirrel on some days, maybe just 1 espresso now instead of 6. I still get distracted by itchy noses and random thoughts about the capital of Uzbekistan. But I've learned to accept the imperfections, to embrace the messiness of it all. And sometimes, just sometimes, I even manage to achieve that elusive state of calm, that quiet space where the only sound is the gentle rhythm of my breath. It's fleeting, yes, but it's there. And it's worth chasing. It's like finding a hidden oasis in the middle of a bustling city. A place where I can just be, without the pressure to do, to achieve, to be someone other than myself. So, yeah, meditation. It's a journey, a funny, frustrating, and ultimately rewarding journey. It's not a magic cure, but it's a tool, a practice, a way of being kinder to myself, even when my brain is doing its best impression of a runaway train. And you know what? I wouldn't trade it for all the ice cream in Uzbekistan, which, by the way, is Tashkent. See? My random knowledge finally came in handy. I truly, deeply, and sometimes grudgingly, appreciate the weird, wobbly, wonderful world of meditation. And hey, who knows, maybe one day even my eyebrows will be as relaxed as that cartoon guru's. One can only dream, right? Anyway, enough about me. What's new with you? Tell me everything. Well, thank you so much for spending this time with me today. It really means a lot to have you all here and connected. I truly appreciate you watching and staying until the very end. If you'd like to stay updated with new daily content focused on English speaking and listening, don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and share this video. You know, before we go, it made me wonder, who do you miss talking to and wish to meet soon? It is always so lovely to hear what everyone is thinking about, and sharing your plans in the comments is a fantastic way to practice expressing yourself in English and connect with others. Seeing all your comments really brightens my day. So take care of yourselves, stay consistent with your practice, and I'll see you tomorrow.